Night Show. Tonight, I've got something special for you. 3 true scary stories that might just keep you up till dawn. Let's begin with the first one, the extra hand. I still remember the dry chill in the air that morning, a kind of biting cold that seeps through even the thickest flannel and settles in your bones. Jake, my younger brother by 3 years, and I had been talking about getting out into the bush for weeks. The trails behind the old dam up in Cedar Hollow had always been our escape, a place where you could hear yourself think, where the buzz of daily life got swallowed by the wind and the trees. But this time was different. This time, we weren't just going to clear our heads. We were going to honor Tom. Tom had been our best friend since high school. The 3 of us had been thick as thieves, working odd jobs together, camping under the stars, and playing a stupid card game we invented called 2s and 4s. It was never about the rules, it was about the ritual. And the ritual always ended with cold beers, tired laughter, and stories that got more exaggerated the later the night went on. Tom died just before Christmas. It was sudden, no warning. A heart attack in his sleep. He was 42. No one sees that coming at 42. So that morning, Jake and I loaded up our packs, laced up our boots, and headed to the trail. Neither of us said much on the drive out of town. Pine Hollow faded behind us, its single gas station, that rusted-out diner by the highway, and all the memories packed into a town too small to hold them all. The old dam greeted us like an old friend, concrete and rebar, all cracked and worn from decades of sun and rain. Beyond it stretched miles of bush, raw, untouched, and quiet in a way that pressed down on you. Jake and I hiked for a couple hours, following the winding trail Tom had shown us years ago. We passed familiar markers, a split tree that looked like a wishbone, a creek that sang louder after a rainstorm. Finally, we reached the bluff overlooking the hollow. It was our spot, always had been. We dropped our packs and started a small fire. Jake popped open 2 cold beers from the cooler and handed me one. I raised mine. To Tom, I said. Jake nodded. To Tom. After a moment, we pulled out the deck of cards from my bag. The deck was old, edges worn soft and stained with years of use. It had always been our camping deck, the one we kept in the gear bag no matter where we went. We sat down across from each other on the flat rock we always used as a table and began to play. 2s and 4s. No one outside our trio really understood it, but it didn't matter. It wasn't about the game, it was about remembering. We shuffled, dealt 7 cards each. The game went on just like it always had, competitive, petty, ridiculous. I won the first round, Jake the second. But that's when something strange happened. I was about to shuffle for the 3rd game when I noticed a 3rd pile of cards on the rock. Neatly stacked, 7 cards, face down. I stared at them for a few seconds before looking up. Did you deal an extra hand? Jake raised an eyebrow. Nope, just you and me, man. I reached over and picked up the cards. They felt just like the others, warm from the sun, slightly curled at the edges. But I hadn't dealt them. I was sure of it. Must have been a mistake, I said, though my voice didn't sound convinced. Jake just nodded, though I could see the edge of unease creeping into his eyes. We kept playing, but the air changed. The wind picked up, carrying with it a kind of hush that muted the forest around us. The birds stopped singing, the fire crackled, but even that sounded quieter. After another game, there it was again. A 3rd hand, 7 cards, stacked perfectly. Okay, Jake said, scanning up slowly. This isn't funny. I didn't do it, I replied. Neither of us moved for a minute. The wind blew a little harder, and I noticed the fire sputter. Then we both looked at each other and said the same name. Tom. It hit us then, not like a punch, but like a wave of cold water. We weren't alone. Something was here, something familiar. Maybe it's him, Jake whispered. Maybe he just wanted to play one more round. I didn't laugh, I didn't even smile, because deep down, I believed it. Tom had always said he'd haunt these woods if he died before us. Hell, he used to joke, I'll be the campfire ghost, keeping you idiots company. We sat back down, this time dealing 3 hands. Jake and I played ours like normal, but the 3rd hand, it didn't move. It just sat there, still. Something about it felt right. As the evening drew in, the sun casting long shadows through the trees, we played 2 more rounds. Each time, that 3rd hand showed up. Always 7 cards, always untouched. And then came the wind. A strong gust blew through the clearing, snuffing out the fire completely. The smoke curled up into the air like a ghost drifting into the trees. We sat in the dark for a long time, the only light coming from the stars overhead and the silver outline of the dam in the distance. Finally, Jake said, "Thanks for joining us, man." I don't know why, but I repeated the same words. "Thanks, Tom." The next morning, we hiked back in silence. The forest was alive again, birds chirping, squirrels rustling in the underbrush. The heaviness from the night before was gone. As we reached the truck, Jake stopped and looked back. "You think we imagined it?" I shook my head. "Nah, that was him." Now, every time we hike out there, we bring the old deck. We still play 2s and 4s, and we always deal free hands. The third one never moves, never touches the cards. But it's always there, waiting. Some people don't believe me when I tell this story. Hell, part of me still questions it some days. But then I remember the cold in the air that had nothing to do with the weather, the stillness that wrapped around us like a blanket, and those 7 cards. Tom never missed a game in life. Why would he start now? That was the end of the first story, The Extra Hand. Now, let's move on to the second one. It's called the sleep paralysis. I remember the silence first. That kind of quiet that doesn't feel peaceful. It feels wrong, heavy, like the world's holding its breath. It was the middle of the night, but everything was lit up unnaturally white, like a room washed in hospital light. There were no shadows, no soft moonlight glow, just this oppressive, glowing whiteness that made the edges of everything too sharp. I couldn't see the walls, the ceiling, or the furniture. All I could see was my bed, specifically, the blanket over me. A pink comforter with white outlines of flowers, one my mom had bought for me years ago when I was younger. It had always made me feel safe, wrapped up in it during thunderstorms or long winter nights. But not this time. Now, it felt like a cage. I lay on my back, completely still. My arms were pinned to my sides, not by any force I could feel, just paralyzed. My eyes were open, wide open, but my body wasn't responding. That's when I saw it. A shadow, faint and just barely darker than the blinding white surrounding it. It stood at the foot of my bed, motionless, tall and human-shaped but lacking detail. No face, no features, just a shape. Then it spoke. Its voice wasn't loud, it didn't echo or growl or distort. It was flat, almost tired, and yet it sliced through the silence like a blade. It asked me one question: "Do you want your family to die?" The words didn't make sense at first. My mind fumbled, trying to register what it had said, as if I'd misheard. But I hadn't. The words settled into my brain like stones thrown into water, spreading waves of terror through me. I couldn't breathe, I couldn't blink, I couldn't scream, but inside, I was screaming. A roaring panic was building inside my chest, clawing at my throat, desperate to come out. I wanted to speak, to shout, no. I wanted to kick off the blankets, jump out of bed, run to my parents, shake my siblings awake. Anything, anything at all. But I couldn't move. "You have 7 seconds, the figure said. "Then I'll decide for you." 7 seconds, that was all. Tick. I tried to move a finger. Nothing. Tick. My heartbeat slammed in my ears, painful, deafening. My chest rose and fell in shallow, useless gasps. I wasn't getting any air. Tick. Inside my mind, I was shrieking. "No, I don't want them to die. Please, don't hurt them." Tick. I imagined them. My mom, my dad, my little brother and sister, all lying peacefully in their beds, just down the hall. Oblivious. Tick. He took a step back, toward the door. He was going to choose. He was going to open that door, and something would happen, something terrible. Tick. He reached the doorknob, rested his hand on it. I could see the outline of his arm, stretched out, long fingers curling around the metal. I still couldn't move, I couldn't scream, my throat burned from trying. 6. That was it, 6. Just one more second, and I'd lose them. And that's when something snapped. With a sudden jolt, I broke free. I sat bolt upright in bed, gasping, heart pounding so loud I thought it would explode. I screamed, no, loud enough to shake the room, my voice raw and ragged. And just like that, he was gone. The room was dark again. Normal. The walls were there, the shadows were back, The only light came from the faint hallway bulb outside my door. I was drenched in sweat, hands shaking, breath coming in sharp, uneven gasps. Then I heard them, my siblings, laughing, running through the hall, chasing each other, their bare feet slapping on the floorboards. Alive, the sound didn't comfort me, not at first. It unsettled me even more, because the moment I heard them, a part of me asked, what if I hadn't woken up in time? What if I'd said nothing? That night changed me. I've been scared before. Roller coasters, bad storms, dark basements, but nothing came close to that kind of fear. That pure, choking dread that wrapped around me like a noose. I felt like I had brushed up against something not of this world, something cold and ancient and indifferent. I think it was sleep paralysis. That's what I've told myself and what the internet suggests. All the signs were there. Waking immobility, a shadowy figure, hallucinations, panic. Classic, textbook, scientific, but that explanation never made me feel any better. Because it didn't explain the way the room felt real, how I could feel the pressure of the sheets, hear the soft creak of the bed springs, see the subtle shimmer of the hallway bulb beyond the door. It didn't explain how I heard my siblings' laughter a moment after I screamed, real, unscripted laughter. It didn't explain the choice he gave me. Who, or what, gives you a choice in a hallucination? That episode happened during a time when I was having nightmares almost every night. They weren't always violent, but they were always wrong. In every dream, something felt off. The sky was always overcast, no matter where I was. The sun never rose. Sometimes it rained. Sometimes the rain looked like ash, falling in heavy, dirty flakes that left black streaks on my skin. And the dead girls, I still see them when I think too hard about that time. Pale skin, long hair, eyes that stared right through me. They never spoke, just stood in the distance, watching. I had a recurring dream where one would be standing just outside our house, staring through the window as my family ate dinner. No one else saw her but me, and I knew, somehow, that she wasn't alone. Sometimes it wasn't girls. Sometimes it was people I loved, twisted versions of them, lifeless, moving wrong. Smiling without warmth, looking at me with eyes that were empty and too wide. In one dream, I found my dad sitting at the kitchen table, completely still, his face turned away. When I walked around to face him, he had no eyes. Just deep, dark holes that went on forever. I never told them about that one. When I finally did talk to my family, I told them the story, about the shadow at the end of the bed, the question, the ticking seconds. They were disturbed, especially my mom. She said it was just a bad dream. She even scheduled a doctor's appointment I never went to. I knew they wanted to help, but I didn't want a diagnosis. I didn't want pills, I just wanted it to stop. And eventually, it did. One day, the dreams just faded, like storm clouds drifting off in the distance. The skies in my dreams lightened. The rain stopped. I began waking up without the tightness in my chest, without the dread lurking behind my eyelids. I haven't had another episode like that since. Still, sometimes, on long nights, when I'm lying in bed and the world feels just a little too quiet, I remember the way he stood there. The way he asked that question and the weight of it. Like it wasn't just a threat, like it was a test. I think I passed, but I don't know what happens to people who fail. That was the end of the second story, the sleep paralysis. Now, let's move on to the third and final story. It's called The Woman by the Well. I must have been around 9 years old when this all went down. It's been years since, but I still remember the story like it was yesterday, not because I lived through it, but because the person who told it to me mattered a whole lot. My cousin had just gotten back from a long stint in a military-style rehab center out in rural Texas, and when he came home, we all gathered at his family's place to welcome him back. It should have been a warm, celebratory moment, and it was, for the most part. But what he shared with me that day turned the visit into something I'll never forget. Growing up, my cousin was a bit of a hero to me. He was older by a good 10 or 12 years and treated me more like a little brother than just a kid in the family. Whenever he came over, he'd bring snacks, sneak me $5 here and there, and tell stories about high school like it was the most exciting place on earth. He even helped me learn how to write my name, sitting with me after school when I was still in preschool. He had this big laugh, a gentle heart, and everyone in the family adored him. But then things change. Like a lot of kids in college, he fell in with the wrong crowd. Drugs, mostly. It started small but spiraled quick. It tore through him like a slow fire, and soon enough, the fun-loving cousin I knew was gone. After a couple of run-ins with the law and an overdose scare, his parents made the hard call. They enrolled him in a military-style rehabilitation program. Not your average facility. It was known for being harsh, remote, and no nonsense. You either came out clean or not at all. He was gone for about a year and a half, maybe 2. It's hard to remember the exact time because I was just a kid, and adults tend to talk about these things in hushed tones. But I do remember the day he came back. His face looked older, worn. He didn't smile as easily, and when he did, it felt forced. But he was clean, at least, that's what everyone said. We went to visit his family a few days after he got back. I remember sitting with him in the backyard while the adults made small talk inside. It was one of those dry, late summer afternoons. He lit a cigarette, not something I'd ever seen him do before, and we just sat there for a while in silence. Then, out of nowhere, he said, "You believe in ghosts, kid?" I shrugged. Maybe. What I'm about to tell you. I never told Mom or Dad. I don't think I ever will. I remember nodding, not really knowing what was coming. But I was drawn in, like any 9-year-old would be when a story starts like that. He told me that during his time in the rehab facility, which was somewhere deep in the countryside, surrounded by woods and farmland, there were stories the guys would whisper about at night. Stories they'd only tell when the lights were out, and they were sure no staff could hear. The place had a well out back, old and half covered by weeds, right near the tree line. Nobody used it. It had been dry for years, but people said weird things happened there. Most of the guys in the program avoided it, especially after dark. And if you had to use the bathroom after midnight, you never went alone. He said that one night, he and another guy, some ex-Marine from Arizona, woke up needing to pee. The bathrooms were in this separate structure near the back of the property, not far from the old well. So they went together, flashlights in hand. As they passed the well, he said he felt this cold gust hit him, like walking into an open freezer. The other guy stopped dead in his tracks. That's when they saw her. A woman, sitting on the edge of the well. Pale skin, dark dress. Her face was half burned, like melted, and her hair was long and black, hanging over the ruined side of her face like she was trying to cover it. She was combing her hair slowly, almost lovingly, and she was smiling. Not the kind of smile you'd want to see on someone's face, but a wide, empty, terrifying grin. Then she looked up, and she spoke. "Come here," she said, her voice sweet, sing-songy. "Come here," my cousin said. They both froze. The woman didn't stop. She just kept brushing her hair and calling out, "Come here, come to me." They turned and ran. Back in the dorms, the other guys didn't ask what happened. They didn't need to. Everyone already knew. The story had been passed down from the older residents. A woman who died out by the well, though no one knew exactly how. Some said she'd been a victim of abuse. Others said she was a patient there back when the place used to be a psychiatric hospital in the 60s. Some even believed she was connected to something darker, violence, maybe even murder. There was never one story, just fragments. But almost everyone had seen her, or heard her. She always appeared after midnight, always by the well. You had to curse at her, my cousin said. Yell at her to go away. Tell her she wasn't welcome. It sounded crazy, but he was dead serious. And the look in his eyes, it wasn't the look of someone trying to scare a kid. It was the look of someone remembering something he wished he could forget. At the time, I didn't know what to make of it. I was a kid, I was scared, sure, but part of me didn't know if I should believe it. As I got older, though, the story stuck with me. I tried to look up the place online a few years back. It's still operating, still remote. I didn't find anything about a haunting, but I did find some reports from people saying the place was intense, trauma-inducing, even abusive. That tracks. I never asked my cousin about it again. He eventually moved out of state, started fresh somewhere up north. We still talk now and then, but that night, the backyard, the story, has never come up again. I've told a few people over the years, and they usually laugh or roll their eyes. Creepy story, they'll say. Nice campfire material, and maybe it is, but I know what I saw in his face that day. and I know what I felt hearing it. Sometimes, when I'm up late and I look out into the darkness, if the wind is just right and there's a chill in the air, I can almost hear her voice, soft and sweet. Come here. I don't know what she was. I don't know if she's real. But my cousin saw something out there, and some stories, whether they're true or not, never really let you go. That's the end of the third story, The Woman by the Well. What do you guys think of these stories? Let me know in the comments below, and if you have a scary story of your own, feel free to share it too. Thanks for watching Horror Night Show. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more real horror stories. Until next time, sleep tight.